This is wonderful news for my dear friend Jimmy and his amazing staff. They continue their show. That's right. You know, I'm so happy for them. Plus, now that Jimmy's not being canceled, I get to enjoy this again. Yeah. I was just, once more, I am the only martyr in late nights. Wait, unless, CBS, you want to announce anything?
When I heard it, I was in the midst of, building a great, for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom at the White House, right? They don't have a ballroom, they have to use tents on the lawn for President Xi when he comes over. If it rains, it's a wipeout. And so I was with the architects that would design. It's going to be incredible.
Like that. And why are we building a $200 million ballroom in the White? Is it possible that he's doing it intentionally so we could be bad about that instead of the Epstein list? By the time he's out of office.
What began with a simple phone check during Hollywood's biggest night quickly turned into a moment that nobody saw coming. As millions watched the Oscars unfold live, Jimmy Kimmel suddenly pulled out his phone and started reading a lengthy social media message aimed directly at him. The audience listened carefully as each line added more suspense to the room. Then, everything changed in an instant. Looking up from the screen, Kimmel fired back with a perfectly timed joke that immediately brought the theater to life. Laughter echoed throughout the venue, applause followed from every corner, and cameras captured celebrities reacting with smiles and disbelief. Within seconds, what started as an online criticism transformed into one of the most memorable moments of the entire ceremony. The exchange quickly spread across social media, dominated headlines, and became a major talking point long after the Oscars had come to an end.
As I said, we're just 9 months into Trump's turn, and he's going Hulk smash on the White House. Last time, it took him at least 4 years to bring a demo crew to the Capitol. This is happening after Trump specifically promised his ballroom construction wouldn't touch the existing White House. Here he is talking about it this summer.
It won't interfere with the current building. It'll be near it, but not touching it, and pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of. It's my favorite place. I love it.
So that was a lie.
Now, instead of the Chinese government harvesting our thoughts, interests, and personal information, Trump's buddy will have them instead. At least it's somebody we can trust, though, right?
March 10th, 2024 was expected to be a celebration of cinema's biggest achievements, a night dedicated to honoring the best performances and productions of the year. Inside the Dolby Theater, the 96th Academy Awards were underway, with some of the world's most recognizable actors, directors, and entertainers gathered for Hollywood's most prestigious event. But as the ceremony progressed, attention suddenly shifted away from the awards themselves. Instead, the spotlight landed on a political figure who wasn't even in attendance. While Jimmy Kimmel was hosting the live broadcast, news surfaced that Donald Trump had posted a harsh message on Truth Social, criticizing the host and questioning his performance. According to later reports, some behind the scenes believed the smartest move was to ignore the comment and continue with the show. That would have been the easy option. But what happened next took the evening in a completely different direction. A brief exchange soon became the defining moment of the entire ceremony, stealing attention from numerous award winners, dominating media coverage, and leaving audiences talking about it long after the Oscars had ended.
Was this?
I just got a review, and has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less than average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Get rid of Kimmel and perhaps replace him with another washed up but cheap ABC talent, George Slopanopoulos. He would make everybody on stage look bigger, stronger, and more glamorous. Blah, blah, blah. Make America great again. See if you can guess which former president just posted that on Tuesday. Anyone? No? Well, thank you, President Trump. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you're still, isn't it past your jail time?
The audience's reaction revealed everything before commentators and journalists even had a chance to respond. As cameras scanned the theater, they captured celebrities laughing, exchanging surprised glances, and reacting to a moment nobody expected to witness. Familiar faces appeared genuinely stunned by the sudden turn of events unfolding on Hollywood's biggest night. Because the exchange happened during a live broadcast, viewers at home experienced every second exactly as it happened, with no edits or delays. The impact was immediate. Even before the Academy Awards had concluded, news organizations were already rushing to cover the story, recognizing that a major television moment had just taken place. By the following day, social media, entertainment outlets, and political discussions were all centered on the same exchange. What captured so much attention was the irony of the situation. A former president watching the ceremony from home had unexpectedly become one of the evening's biggest punchlines. The moment stood out because of how quickly the spotlight changed direction. Someone attempting to draw attention toward himself suddenly became the focus of the conversation instead. In just a few moments, the narrative shifted completely, turning a public criticism into one of the most talked about highlights of the entire night.
Time magazine dropped a new issue to commemorate the deal. Let's take a look at his heroic cover shot. Okay. Ooh. Worst Georgia O'Keeffe ever. You know what?
We've had a hell of a couple of weeks, but I did get some exciting news this weekend. According to a new poll from YouGov, which is a serious polling site, or they were before this, I am more popular than the President of the United States.
Every once in a while, a single joke changes the entire course of a story, and this was one of those rare moments. The impact was obvious the second it happened. Cameras captured audience members laughing uncontrollably, while several celebrities looked genuinely surprised by the unexpected exchange unfolding before them. Because the moment aired live, millions of viewers witnessed it in real time, making it impossible to ignore. News outlets quickly jumped on the story, publishing articles and analyzing the exchange before the Oscars had even concluded. By the next morning, the moment had taken over social media, entertainment headlines, and political discussions alike. What made it so memorable was the striking reversal at its center. A former president watching the ceremony from home had unexpectedly become one of the night's biggest punchlines. More importantly, the person attempting to attract attention suddenly found that attention redirected back at him in a completely different way. The episode became a perfect example of how comedy can take control of a conversation, shift public focus, and redefine a narrative. Instead of allowing criticism to dominate the story, a well-timed response turned the spotlight around and created a moment that audiences continued discussing long after the ceremony ended.
I'm not a convicted felon friend of Jeffrey Epstein, and I've never paid off a porn star or sent a team of masked goons into a park to pull an old lady away from her grandchildren. I feel like my rating should be higher, maybe, than... At this point, finding a toenail in your salad has a 7-point lead over Donald Trump. And I hope he doesn't see this. I hate to, I don't like to upset him, but I think he might be upset because the White House put out a statement this afternoon. This is a real statement. Over 77 million Americans showed up on Election Day to cast their ballots for President Donald J. Trump, who is delivering on his overwhelming mandate to put America first. Jimmy Kimmel prays every night to garner a fraction of that support to keep his show on air after ratings dropped 64% last week. Sad. I like sad with an exclamation.
Late-night hosts had been criticizing Trump for years, so another exchange between a comedian and a former president was not unusual on its own. What made this particular moment different was the setting and the timing. In front of a worldwide audience, during one of the entertainment industry's most prestigious events, Jimmy Kimmel turned Trump's own public comments into part of the show. That instantly elevated the incident beyond a typical political joke or celebrity roast. The attention quickly shifted away from the criticism itself and toward the reaction it produced. Audiences were not simply laughing at a punchline, they were responding to the unexpected circumstances that made the moment feel unique. The combination of timing, visibility, and spontaneity transformed it into something much larger than a standard late-night comedy segment. Even more interesting, the dynamic did not end when the Oscars were over. Similar exchanges
At this point, should we even believe that this is going to end up being a ballroom? It could just as easily end up being a combination Pizza Hut Taco Bell. Now, someone in his administration is clearly smart enough to know how bad this looks, because the Treasury Department is right next door facing the demolition, and Treasury has now told their employees not to share any photos of the construction. Not generally something you instruct when you're proud of what's going on. Hey guys, remember, no photos at my wedding, and it's not because I'm marrying a body pillow of Mariah Carey.
Kimmel once again found inspiration in a Truth Social post, this time focusing on reports that Trump was unhappy with a Time magazine cover. Instead of responding with a direct attack, Kimmel approached the subject through humor, jokingly suggesting that perhaps the real issue was simply the way the photo had been taken. The remark immediately created a funny image for the audience, portraying a powerful public figure as being unusually concerned about an unflattering picture. The contrast was easy to understand, and laughter quickly spread throughout the studio. But beneath the joke was a broader observation about image, reputation, and the importance of public perception. Kimmel's comments suggested that in today's media environment, appearance can become so significant that even a magazine cover has the power to spark controversy. That idea gave the joke additional weight. It was never just about a photograph itself, but about what the image symbolized and why it generated such a strong reaction. In Kimmel's telling, the irony was hard to miss. The challenge was not coming from political opponents, journalists, or critics. Instead, the punchline implied that the biggest problem was staring back from the cover itself, turning a simple photograph into the center of the entire conversation.
That the President of the United States has a lower approval rating than Diddy and diarrhea. That's what's sad. You know, if he's looking, and no one cares very deeply about this sort of thing, if he's looking to improve his approval numbers, I have an idea. Release the Epstein files. Yeah.
Did you ever think the President of the United States would be celebrating your unemployment?
I mean, that son of a bitch, you know, is really unbelievable.
Mr. Son of a bitch.
I mean,
Mr. Son of a bitch.
His royal, yes, yeah, no, I never imagined that we'd ever have a president like this, and I hope we don't ever have another president like this again. I mean, I never even imagined there would ever be a situation in which the president of our country was celebrating hundreds of Americans losing their jobs. But somebody who took pleasure in that, that to me is the absolute opposite of what a leader of this country is supposed to be.
The monologue spread across the internet with incredible speed. Within hours, news organizations, entertainment outlets, and television commentators were discussing the segment, while clips flooded social media as viewers shared and replayed the funniest moments. Creating that kind of conversation has always been one of Kimmel's greatest strengths. Rather than relying on outrage or direct confrontation, he often uses carefully timed humor to highlight the more absurd side of larger-than-life public figures. By turning moments of self-importance into comedy, he creates segments that audiences find both entertaining and relatable. As the story moves forward, however, the focus shifts from one late-night host to another. The scene changes to May 1st, 2017, inside the studio of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. The atmosphere is noticeably different, filled with anticipation, as the audience senses that something memorable is about to happen. Trump has recently criticized CBS, and Colbert is preparing his response. What follows is far more than a routine opening monologue. it becomes one of the most discussed moments of his career, drawing attention far beyond the studio audience and securing its place as a significant chapter in the ongoing clash between late-night comedy and presidential politics.
At the White House, Trump talked about his wrecking ballroom. And the one thing I don't think we make enough fun of is how his brain is filled with cotton candy fantasies of lavish princely soirees.
So you'll have drinks, cocktails, everything on this floor, and then they'll say, welcome to dinner. You walk into the ballroom, Mr. Senators, and you're gonna see a ballroom the likes of which I don't think it'll be topped.
There'll be drinks, cocktails, like this, drinks and cocktails.
A vast majority say they want to see the Epstein files. 77% of Americans want the Epstein files released, but 100% of our American president does not want them released. Trump's treating these Epstein files like the grumpy old neighbor on Halloween. He turns off all the lights and just hopes the trick-or-treaters will assume there's nobody home. He's like, do you people not understand what a wonderful secret?
Colbert delivered a remark that immediately sent waves through both television audiences and online discussions. The response inside the studio was instant, with laughter spreading throughout the crowd, while viewers at home reacted with a mix of surprise, amusement, and disbelief. Almost overnight, the segment became one of the most talked about moments in entertainment media, sparking debate across news programs, social media platforms, and opinion pieces. The controversy grew so large that thousands of complaints were reportedly filed, as critics voiced their concerns. Yet, despite predictions that the incident could seriously damage the show or lead to consequences for Colbert, the outcome turned out very differently. As the controversy gradually faded and reviews were completed, there were no suspensions, penalties, or removals from the air. Instead, the attention generated even greater public interest. Ratings climbed, media coverage expanded, and conversations surrounding the program became even more widespread. What some believed would become a major setback ultimately evolved into one of the defining moments of Colbert's late-night career. The very joke that critics thought might hurt his reputation ended up strengthening it, increasing the show's visibility and further establishing him as one of the most influential figures in modern late-night comedy.
Case in point, yesterday, as part of his White House ballroom project, he sent out a backhoe to rip off a chunk of the East Wing. That is it. We are not giving him the security deposit back. Yvonne, can we see that picture again? That is so deeply unsettling. It's like being a kid and seeing your teacher at the grocery store for sale.
On Sunday, he sat up in bed and posted, the NFL has to get rid of that ridiculous-looking new kickoff rule. How can they make such a big and sweeping change so easily and quickly? It's at least as dangerous as the normal kickoff and looks like hell. Sissy football is bad for America and bad for the NFL.
Following that headline-grabbing controversy, Colbert once again found himself responding to a Trump remark that quickly sparked nationwide debate. During a December 2023 interview, Trump made a comment about being a dictator only on day one, a statement that immediately became a major topic across political and media circles. When Colbert addressed the remark on his show the next night, he responded with a comparison that instantly captured the audience's attention. Looking directly into the camera, he joked that the logic sounded similar to someone promising they would commit a serious offense only once. The audience erupted with laughter, not just because of the joke itself, but because of the larger point hidden within it. The punchline was sharp, memorable, and difficult to ignore. Moments like these have become a signature part of Colbert's style. Rather than avoiding controversial subjects, he often takes complex political discussions and transforms them into accessible comedy. By wrapping serious issues inside humor, he allows audiences to engage with difficult topics in a way that feels immediate and easy to understand. In those moments, the laughter becomes more than entertainment. It becomes part of the conversation itself, helping reinforce the message rather than distracting from it.
Disney put Kimmel back on because you, the American people, were upset, okay? But not just people, also Ted Cruz. It's true. Cruz was one of the conservatives who were outraged by the administration's attack on free speech.
He threatens explicitly, we're going to cancel ABC's license. We're going to take him off the air so ABC cannot broadcast anymore. He threatens it. He says, we can do this the easy way, but we can do this the hard way.
Yeah.
And I got to say, that's right out of Goodfellas. That's right out of a mafioso coming into a bar going, nice bar you have here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
Wow, I gotta say, I am shocked that I agree with Ted Cruz on something.
Today, Caitlin Collins from CNN asked Trump whether he plans to pardon Epstein's right-hand woman, Ghislaine Maxwell, and whereas he's usually, very quick to weigh in bigly on this type of thing, for this one, suddenly even-tempered and even deferential.
The Supreme Court is back in session.
Yeah.
They rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance at getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're open to?
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
She was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I have to ask DOJ.
Oh, yeah. Ask DOJ and get back to us, please.
June 3rd, 2024 marked another memorable chapter in the ongoing intersection of politics and late-night television. Coming shortly after Trump's guilty verdict in the hush money case, the moment quickly captured national attention. As Stephen Colbert stepped onto the stage, it was clear that something unusual was about to unfold. During the segment, he encouraged the audience to join in a chant that echoed a phrase strongly associated with Trump's political rise years earlier. As the crowd responded, the significance of the moment became impossible to ignore. A slogan once heard regularly at political rallies was now being repeated in an entirely different environment and aimed in a completely different direction. The reversal was striking. Millions of viewers watched as language that had once been used as a political rallying cry returned in a new form, transformed into a piece of televised satire and commentary. The impact came not only from the chant itself, but from the history attached to it. For many observers, it felt like a rare full-circle moment where a familiar message resurfaced under dramatically different circumstances. The irony was unmistakable, and that irony became the driving force behind the segment's influence, turning it into another widely discussed moment in the continuing relationship between politics, media, and late-night comedy.
Shocked that he somehow got Robert De Niro to come on the podcast. That was beautiful. Meh, see, meh, I'm taking off the air. See, meh, I'm the FCC. Meh, meh. ABC was being flooded with complaints about taking Jimmy off the air, but not all those complaints went to the right place because down under, the Australian Broadcasting Company, which also goes by the initials ABC, was being barraged by misdirected complaints about the Kimmel suspension. Come on, folks. Leave him alone. Don't attack Australian ABC. I mean, there's nothing, they never canceled their popular...
At the center of all these moments is a common pattern. Time and again, Stephen Colbert finds a way to turn a story back toward its original source, flipping the narrative in a way that changes how audiences view it. In many ways, that same strategy connects both Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel, even though they approach it differently. Kimmel often takes Trump's own statements and simply reflects them back to the audience, allowing the contradictions, irony, or unintended humor to speak for themselves. Colbert, on the other hand, tends to reshape familiar political slogans, campaign rhetoric, and well-known talking points into memorable television moments, built around satire and storytelling. One host lets the words stand on their own, while the other transforms them into a performance. Despite those differences, both arrive at the same destination: Rather than relying on lengthy analysis or complicated political commentary, they present the material in a way that encourages viewers to form their own conclusions. That is what makes their approach so effective. They rarely tell audiences what to think. Instead, they place the statements, reactions, and events directly in front of them and allow the contrast to do the work. In the process, they achieve something many commentators spend hours trying to accomplish, creating a reflection of the story that naturally reveals its humor, irony, and contradictions.
There's a lot going on there. It's like one of those optical illusions where you can't tell if it's an old woman or a young ball sack. You gotta move, what's that? What's that?
He calls him Puff Daddy. That's relevant. The notorious PIG is busy with all manner of distractions right now. He rallied the troops in Norfolk over the weekend at an event to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Navy. He treated the crowd to his signature dance and to his still inexplicable theme song. I mean, come on, if you're gonna play the village people, how do you not go within the Navy on that day? It's not.
Over the years, Trump has frequently used terms like low-rated, failing, and disgusting when criticizing late-night hosts and comedians. Yet, one of the most interesting aspects of these exchanges is how often the public reaction moves in the opposite direction. Rather than diminishing attention, each new criticism tends to generate fresh headlines, spark renewed debate, and give audiences another reason to pay attention. Clips spread rapidly across social media, television segments are replayed and analyzed, and viewers become increasingly interested in seeing how the latest back and forth will unfold. This pattern has repeated itself so many times that the irony is difficult to ignore. Attempts to undermine a comedian's influence often end up increasing their visibility instead. Rather than fading from public discussion, many of these hosts find themselves at the center of an even larger conversation. Over time, a broader lesson has emerged from these recurring clashes. Political figures are accustomed to debating journalists, responding to critics, and confronting opponents, but engaging in a public battle with comedians presents a very different challenge. Comedy operates by its own rules, where timing, perception, and audience reaction can turn even a serious disagreement into a memorable joke. In that environment, controlling the narrative becomes far more complicated, and the person hoping to win the argument can sometimes end up becoming the punchline instead. While some comedy moments quickly fade from public memory, others manage to leave a lasting impression long after the original exchange has ended.
Tough PR week for the GOP. Last week, Politico published a young Republican group chat loaded with horrible messages like, "I love Hitler." Then, a Republican congressional staffer was seen on Zoom with a Nazi swastika American flag hanging on the wall behind him. But folks, that's all in the past. Until yesterday, we found out that a Trump nominee boasted of having a Nazi streak in group chats. All right, Yvonne, let's reset the counter. Days since last Republican Nazi thing. There you go.
Dancing Donald wasn't the only Trump on hand to fire the sailors up.
Hoo-yah, Navy! Hoo-yah, Navy! Hoo-yah, Navy!
Hoo-yah means help me in Slovenian. The president landed in a chopper to the tune of Danger Zone from Top Gun.
Some comedy moments disappear almost as quickly as they arrive, while others take on a life of their own and remain part of the cultural conversation for years. Kimmel's Oscars response and several of Colbert's most memorable punchlines clearly fall into that second category. Long after the original broadcasts ended, audiences continued sharing clips, repeating the jokes, and discussing the moments that made them so effective. That lasting influence highlights an important difference between a social media post and a truly memorable joke. A post can be deleted, edited, or eventually forgotten, but a joke that genuinely connects with people often continues to circulate long after the event that inspired it. When viewed within the larger story of late-night television, Kimmel's evolution is especially notable. He first rose to prominence through celebrity interviews, comedy sketches, and lighthearted entertainment. Few would have predicted that he would eventually become one of the most consistent political voices in late-night television. Yet, over time, that is exactly what happened. He gradually expanded his role, using comedy not only to entertain audiences, but also to comment on major public figures and national events. Through that transformation, Kimmel built a reputation as a comedian willing to challenge powerful personalities through satire, sharp observations, and carefully crafted humor. In doing so, he demonstrated how comedy can influence conversations that extend far beyond the traditional boundaries of entertainment.
When Donald Trump gave a crowd in Indiana, Pennsylvania, yet another review of my performance at the Academy Awards.
Remember the Academy Awards? I said how he's the worst host in the history of the Academy Awards. And this stupid guy goes up, and just before the Best Picture of the Year, the show is almost over. They're waiting for the Best Picture of the Year. He gets up, and he says, and his wife said, please don't do it. Please, darling, don't go out. His manager said, don't do it. I have to do it. He goes out and reads my truth to the entire audience right before the prime time, the Best Picture. And it said, basically, he is the worst host of the history. He reads the whole thing. And then I think he said something like, ha, 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 he thinks he bothers me, or some crap like that. I said, he's one of the dumbest human beings ever. He should have listened to his wife. What a dope.
Duck Rabbit. Now, of course, the President of the United States is far too busy hammering out the details of a deal to end a generational conflict in the Middle East to worry about how he looks on some bi-weekly magazine. You would think, but of course he posted, Time magazine wrote a relatively good story about me, but the picture may be the worst of all time. He's right. You gotta hand it that. It is one of the...
That is exactly why these moments continue to resonate with audiences long after the cameras stop rolling. One of Trump's greatest political strengths has always been his ability to command attention and keep himself at the center of public discussion. Yet comedians like Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert found a way to turn that same attention into a source of comedy. They did not rely on leaked recordings, anonymous insiders, or dramatic behind-the-scenes revelations. Instead, they used a much simpler and more effective approach. They took statements and events that were already public, presented them to audiences, and added just enough humor to highlight the irony beneath them. That formula has been responsible for many of their most memorable moments. Whether it was Kimmel's widely discussed Oscars response or Colbert's audience chant that captured national attention, both examples reflected the same principle. The most effective late-night comedy is rarely about the joke alone. Its real strength comes from revealing a larger truth that audiences may already recognize but have not fully considered. Humor grabs attention, but the deeper observation is what gives the moment lasting significance. As a result, viewers often find themselves doing two things at once: laughing at the punchline while also reflecting on the message behind it. That combination of entertainment and insight is what separates a forgettable joke from a moment that remains part of the public conversation for years.